Hi, today I'm going to show you a little bit about the difference between built-in variables and the variables you create in Scratch. So here I have a simple script that let's go take a look at in presentation mode before we start analyzing it. So let's start the green flag and see what happens. The cat says, "Hello, Mr. Dragon." The dragon thinks that this cat looks tasty and then asks us, should the dragon breathe fire on the cat? Let's say yes. And he's like, "Are you sure?" Let's say yes again. If so, the dragon breathes fire on the cat turns into a pile of ash. So let's try this again, except we won't answer yes both times this time. So, this cat looks tasty. Yes, why of course. Are you sure? No, let's not. So then, you can see nothing happens. So, let's go over to the script and take a look at what happens. So, the cat's easy, so let's start with the cat. When the green flag is clicked, the cat's going to switch to costume 1, so he's going to start like this all the time. And then he's going to say, "Hello, Mr. Dragon," for 2 seconds. So we've got the when green flag clicked. In looks, we've got switch to costume 1. And then we've got say, "Hello, Mr. Dragon." And then broadcast in control is where you can find broadcast, and he's going to tell the dragon it's his turn to start thinking. So, and then at the end, his last command is when he receives a symbol from the dragon that says that he's been lit on fire, he's going to switch back to his other costume. So, I'm going to get rid of this, but you've seen how I've made this now. Now let's move to the dragon, who's a little bit more complicated. You can see on the dragon, when he receives he doesn't do much when the green flags first click. He just switches back to this first costume. But when he receives dragon thoughts from the cat, he thinks, well, this cat looks tasty for 2 seconds. So again, I'll build this block with you, even though I have it here. So when I receive dragon thoughts, we're going to go to looks and grab the think block. And then we're going to ask, which is under sensing. So this is where we start dealing with built-in variables. So ask has a built-in variable called answer. So anytime you type ask, whatever you type in to the ask, like I typed in yes and no, is automatically put in the variable answer, which we can see here. And so I'm asking, should the dragon breathe fire on the cat? And it waits for an answer. After I get an answer, I set the variable that I've created called first answer to that answer. So let's build this. So ask, let's stop this. Ask, should the dragon breathe fire on the cat? So now you can go to variables and you can set your created variable. Mine's called first answer. If you don't have variables, go ahead and make a variable and call it first answer. And then hit OK. I've already created it, so I'm going to hit cancel, but you'd hit OK. So then you want to set your first answer to whatever it is that you just said. So how do you do that? Let's go to sensing again, and there's the answer little plug-in. So let's plug that in right there, and yours looks exactly like my other one does. And then we want to ask another question, just to be sure. Are you sure? And then we'll do the same thing we did at the first one. So set, except we're going to use second answer. We want answer again. So, and then I've got a little complicated part here, which uses an if statement, which is in control. So if, because I only want him to torch him if I want him to, and I'm sure. So let's go to, then the green ones are from operators. So we're going to go to operators, and then we need 2 of them, so we want an and then we need 2 equals. Equals number 1 and equals number 2. So then how do we get these? Well, those are in variables as well. You see we've got them right here. So if first answer and second answer, let's edit this so it's both equals yes. Then we want the dragon to switch to, let's look at his costumes. He's got one where he's torching stuff and one where he's not. So we want him to switch to the torching costume. And dragon 1B1. I should have named these costumes better, but... And then we want to make sure the cat knows he's supposed to switch back into the torch. So we broadcast torch back to the cat, and he knows what to do. Now the last thing you need to... So now you can see I've got something that's exactly the same as my old block. So I'm going to drag that off. So the last thing you need to do is whenever you're using variables, you need to make sure you can set them back to the same thing. Kind of like how I've done with the dragon with the costume and the cat with the costume. We got to set them all back to nothing so we don't have any problems when you try and run this over and over. So an easy way to remember for me is that all of my variables always get set back to nothing on the stage. So you can see I've made a block here when green flag clicked. Variables set first answer and second answer to 0. So that's just an easy way for me to remember. Anytime I'm looking for some of my variables, I always put them in the stage. But you don't have to. You can really put them wherever you want. So now we've created this. Now let's take a look between the difference between answer and first answer and second answer. So see how it says hello Mr. Dragon, our variable switched back to 0 just like we changed it to be. So when I type in yes, answer is going to change to yes and first answer because it set first answer to whatever was in this answer. So now let's go to the second one. So it's still set to 0 and answer set to yes. So what if I say no here? Answer switches to no, so first answer doesn't because first answer stays whatever you set it to. So this way we can use built-in variables like answer with the sensing things and mouse X and mouse Y and all of these different built-in variables that give us information about what's going on here to make an awesome project in Scratch by setting them into things that we can keep, our user-created variables. So that's our lesson. I hope you enjoy. I will run through this one more time just to show the cat getting torched one last time. This cat looks tasty. Why, yes, of course he should. And yes. And the cat gets torched. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you soon.